Hello excellent people, and welcome back to your art table. Today I'm going to show you how to mix shades of different colors. A shade is a dulled and darker version of one of the colors of the rainbow. Essentially, you take a hue and you shift it towards gray. Mixing shades is essential to making your color work seem subtle and sophisticated. Beginners are often afraid to mix gray versions of colors for a few reasons. Sometimes they're still building their skills in mixing hues, so jumping forward into mixing shades seems tricky. Nearly all of you have made a color wheel before using the old primaries, but now you're still getting used to using the proper primary colors, cyan, magenta, and yellow. The colors shift a little bit. To make green, you use yellow and cyan. To get blue-violet, you use cyan and magenta, and to make red-orange, you use magenta and yellow. You're also getting used to using complementary colors. Complementary colors are opposites on the color wheel. When you mix a hue with a little bit of its complementary, you make a grayed version of that hue. In other words, you use the opposite of a color to make a shade. You could use black paint to make shades, but black paint tends to leave your paintings dead looking, so it's better to mix it. Most of you are also still getting used to how much paint you use to adjust the colors while you mix them. Sometimes you add too much paint and sometimes too little. Cyan is super strong and yellow is super wimpy. But don't worry, students get really good at mixing colors by the end of practicing. In your color wheel skill builder, you made pure hues around the outside of the color wheel. On the inside, you're going to make shades of those hues. In theory, what you do is quite simple. You take the hue you mixed up, and then you add a small amount of the complementary hue on the other side of the wheel. You just use the leftover spots of color in your palette that you used to make the outside. The reality is a little different when you're starting off. All sorts of things will go wrong. You might add too much of the complement and you actually make a shade of that. Or the shade might be a little bit off and would better belong to one of the areas to either side of the color you wanted. All of these are just fine. You're just learning and figuring this out for the first time. Test your shades out on a scrap of paper. See which hue it is closest to, and then put it there. It might be different from the gray you want to make, but it will still fit in the color wheel, and you'll still be learning. And remember how watercolor is supposed to be used in transparent layers? If an area is off a little, you can let it dry, and then you can do an adjustment layer on top of it. Did you make your shade of orange too yellow? That means you need to push the color closer towards magenta. All you have to do is put a transparent layer of magenta on top of it. Is your green shade too blue? That means you need to shift it towards yellow so you can put a layer of yellow on it. At the end, you'll probably find that some of your shades are a little inconsistent. Some will be too dark, others too light. Some will be brighter and others will be darker. Don't worry about that though. That is a different skill builder for a different time.